In this video, we're going to be looking at translating words to math. This is going to be very useful when you encounter those word problems and situational type things. First thing we want to go over is the vocabulary. A variable is going to be any unknown value, and it's represented by a letter. Typically, it'll be the letters X, Y, or Z, or A, B, or C, but really it doesn't matter what letter you choose. Coefficient is the number that's written in front of the variable, and the operation there is multiplication. You see here it says 3x. 3 is the coefficient, and that indicates 3 times x. Or over here it says negative 2x. Negative 2 is the coefficient, the number in front of the variable, and all it means is negative 2 times some unknown value x. And then finally, an algebraic expression is an expression that includes numbers and variables. Really key point here that this is different from an equation. An equation includes the equal sign. An algebraic expression does not have an equal sign. I want to make that very clear. If you are doing an assignment, a question, or a problem, and it's asking for an algebraic expression, there really should not be an equal sign in your final answer, which also means you may not even need to actually evaluate anything. So let's go over some special terms. Addition. If you see in the situation you're looking at the words increased by, more than, sum, total, and of course add. Those are all words that imply that the operation that's being asked for is addition. Now for subtract terms, there is one special case here I want to go over, but we have decreased by, okay, like if I said 3 decreased by 1, that would be simply 3 minus 1. Okay, we could say 3 subtract 1. I'm going to skip this one here for a second and we'll come back to that. But 3 minus 1, that's obvious. Find the difference of 3 and 1, or between 3 and 1. And then this might sound a little weird, but you may encounter it, is if we said 3 fewer 1 is one way of putting it. Or, and that's where these two are related, we could say 1 fewer than 3, or 1 less than 3. Do you see what I did there, though? All of these other ones, we said 3 before we said 1. But if I'm going to say 1 less than 3, I'm saying the second number first. So you want to be careful about that. Make sure you really understand what's being asked for there. What I like to do is just sometimes pick a random everyday object like apples and say, okay, when it says 1 apple less than a number, am I subtracting an apple, or do I have an apple and I'm subtracting a missing number? One of those is going to make sense and one of them isn't. Multiplication terms, of course, there's times. Product, find the product of these two numbers. A number multiplied by. Of, also goes along with product. And per, like if we're talking about, if you want to find the distance when you're doing miles per hour, distance equals the rate times the time. So you would multiply the speed that you're going times how long that you've been traveling to get that actual final answer. And then the last operation, of course, is divided by, quotient, which as you know is the answer to a division problem, and then groups of, because remember, division, we're looking at a way to group our set of numbers in equal pieces. So if I was looking for groups of 4 out of 12 things, well, 12 divided by 4 is 3. We could make 3 groups of 4. So those are some of the important phrases that you're going to need to be familiar with. Let's take a look at some of these. Now there are some phrases that are going to need to involve parentheses. Because of the order of operations, you know that addition and subtraction is never going to come before multiplication or division. So if we are asking for the sum of two numbers or the difference of two numbers before something else needs to happen, we have to utilize parentheses in order to force the addition or subtraction to come first. So let's write a few algebraic expressions. Remember, anytime it says a number, that's where our variable comes into play. And unless the problem in front of you indicates what letter to use, you can use just about any letter you want to. Since this is using the phrase a number, and the word the word number starts with the letter N, I'm going to choose to use the letter N. But you can use any letter you want. 10 more than a number. So we have some number in. More than means which operation? Addition. And it's 10 more than that. So n plus 10, or n plus n, would be the algebraic expression for that phrase. A number decreased by 17. Tell you what, I'll use x this time, just because. A number decreased by. Do you remember what operation is implied by decreased by? Subtraction. Minus 17. All right, now take a look at this one. It says 12 less than 4 times a number. Okay, now do you remember what I said was special about the phrase less than? Remember, less than, we're doing it in an opposite order. So when I say 12 less than 4 times a number, we know we're going to end this with a minus 12. Here at the beginning, we're going to need to put 4 times a number, which we can use coefficient for x minus 12, or 4 times x minus 12. I don't need any parentheses because order of operations indicate that the multiplication should happen before the subtraction. Okay? The quotient of 9 and a number. Okay? This is not like the problem we just did. It's being presented in the order it should be done. We can say 9 divided by a number. I'm going to go back to using n again. Or, remember, fractions really are division problems. So we can also say 9 divided by n. Okay? 9 times the sum of 4 and a number. Okay? Now when it says the sum of 4 and a number, that's needing to happen first. So we need some parentheses here. We have the sum of 4 and a number, and we're going to multiply that by 9. And we don't need any symbol there. That says 9 parentheses 4 plus n. Or n plus 4, you can write it that way. Both would be equally correct. And the last one on this slide, the sum of 4 and the quotient of 12 and a number. Okay, so what should happen first? We're asking for the sum of 4 and something else. So 4 is being added to something, and now we got to figure out what this other thing is. The other thing is a quotient, so it's division. 12 and a number. So I'm going to write it as a fraction this time. 12 over n. 4 plus 12 over n, or 4 plus 12 divided by n. And because division comes before addition, we don't need to do anything else. So let's go backwards. We have x plus 5. We have all sorts of ways to write this. We could do what I just said, x plus 5, just the way you see it. But let's do something a little bit more interesting. What's one of the other phrases? The sum of x and 5. Okay, or x add 5. Any of those phrases that we saw earlier in the addition section will work fine here. Now this one, let's see. Well, we could easily just say 2 times x minus 3. That's really easy. But let's try and be a little bit more creative there. How about, let's say, here we go, 3 less than, remember what I told you before, when we use the phrase less than, we're doing it backwards. I know I'm choosing a tricky one here. Less than the product of 2 and okay? And finally, let's just do this last one fairly easy. We'll just say that this is 3 times the sum of... Did I say sum? What operation are we doing? We don't say sum here. What's another word that we should be using for subtraction? Difference. The difference of x and 7. And that's how you can go back and forth between algebraic expressions and verbal expressions.